seconds.
Well, good evening, good evening, good evening.
Live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're live.
Good evening, good evening. We're live here at Panero Bread on Clemson Boulevard today. You know, coach has to be close to the field so he can leave here and rush right to the field and do the warm-ups. And so I'm just happy to have this opportunity to share with you today. And we have a very special guest with us today. But before we get to her, we want to make sure that we allow our special, our regular guests to begin to introduce themselves. One of our prayers are with Dr. Bywood. He's in the air probably about now, flying, circling over a certain city, and he's gonna land in a few minutes. But we're thankful that I have with me Tasha M. Dyer and Gerald D. Rogers, who and also a special guest that Ms. Dyer will introduce after Mr. Rogers says hello to all of us.
Well, hello. How are you all doing? Definitely our listening audience. I just want to say hello to all of you all at the Rejoice 904 network, as well as everywhere we're streaming. So Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm just excited to be here with you all again. We are here. Be Your Own Bank is the largest economic empowerment movement in the history of mankind. And so it's definitely an honor and a privilege to help you make sure that you get those financial blinders removed. So once again, our host, Bishop Harold Rollison, and our visionary of our movement, Mr. Gerald D. Rogers. But ladies and gentlemen, we do have a special guest. So we'll introduce her in just a minute. I promise you, you want to grab a friend, a neighbor, a relative. You want to share this on your social media. You want to make sure you get it out, because what she has to say, you are definitely going to want to hear. Mr. Rogers.
Yes. How is everyone doing? Rejoice904.com network. I'm absolutely excited. But before we get started, listen, you have to go to your social media, your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your Snapchat, and share this information because, hey, lives are at stake. This information is too important for it not to be disseminated through your social media platforms. Once again, a big shout out to our Rejoice904.com network. We love you for allowing us to be able to bring this information to households across the globe. Big shout out to the host, Mr. Bishop Harold Rollison, the general in God's Army, tremendously accomplished businessman, my dear friend, the trade whisperer, the major. And then in absence of our very own finance doctor, Dr. Craig Bywood, hey, audience, we welcome you. You are in for a treat. We have one of the most dynamic individuals. I mean, her heart is filled with passion, visionary herself, doing some amazing things and just really bridging the gap for success for many other individuals. So with that being said, let me turn it back over to Ms. Dyer so that we can properly introduce the millennial wealth connector herself. Ms. Dyer, back to you.
Well, I think you already started, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm excited because, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today the millennial wealth connector. Yes, I'm talking about someone, a TV personality. We're talking about someone who has your heart, posture in mind, someone who is here for your success, someone who wants you to exceed, and someone who has dedicated herself, not first and foremost, to God. All right, her show is called Faith It Through. So most importantly to God, but she's also committed herself to making sure you're successful. Millennials, I'm talking to you so we can make sure that we are bridging the gap. So I'm excited. Miss Leesia Monay, are you on the line?
I'm here, whoop whoop. I am here and I'm excited. I'm so glad that I'm able to share and then just I'm happy. So I'm really excited. Thank you.
So
That's it. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Welcome. We're excited to have you. And I'm excited to be in the same room with all these young folk. Make me feel so much younger. But I'm excited because there's a challenge that is in Second Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 1 through 11. It's a challenge for those of us who have been here a while, probably a little longer than Lisa, and we just want to read that passage, and then we're going to get right into our conversation today. Miss Dara, did you get that passage?
I have it, Bishop, but I just want you to know I heard the shade. I heard the shade that you threw in there. So just know I heard it. But I'm going to pull this passage right up. And I'm quite sure on the replay, everybody else will hear it.
It's good exercise. Get rid of that fear, childhood fears that linger with us.
Passage, Bishop, I'm going to pass it back to you. So it says, finally, dear brothers and sisters, we ask you to pray for us. Pray that the Lord's message will spread rapidly and be honored wherever it goes, just as when it came to you. Pray too that we will be rescued from wicked and evil people, for not everyone is a believer, but the Lord is faithful. He will strengthen you and guard you from the evil one. And we are confident in the Lord that you are doing and will continue to do the things we commanded you. May the Lord lead your hearts into a full understanding and expression of the love of God and the patient endurance that comes from Christ. And now, dear brothers and sisters, we give you this command in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Stay away from all believers who live idle lives and don't follow the tradition they receive from us. For you know that you ought to imitate us. We were not idle when we were with you. We never accepted food from anyone without paying for it. We worked hard day and night, so we would not be a burden to any of you. We certainly had the right to ask you to feed us, but we wanted to give you an example to follow. Even while we were with you, we gave you this command. Those unwilling to work will not eat. Yet, we hear that some of you are living idle lives, refusing to work and meddling in others' business.
Good God Almighty. Now, this passage got me in trouble with a lot of folk over the years. Now, let's set the context of this passage. Paul had preached there earlier and talked about Jesus coming soon. And like many of us would, if we thought Jesus was coming in the morning, we probably wouldn't go to work. We thought he was coming Friday. We probably wouldn't pay any bills. We probably go and get us a nice car and wouldn't worry about the payments on it because Jesus is coming pretty soon. And so these people had I believe Paul's passage is preaching so that they had stopped working, and this had gone on for months, and they were not able to take care of themselves and feed themselves. And so Paul's admonition was the only way they're gonna go back to work if you stop feeding them. You stop giving them a handout. Need more will make you go to work. Need more food, need more grocery, need more shoes, need more everything will cause you and motivate you to go to work. Now, Paul said, I was an example to you when I was there in Thessalonica. I worked every day. I didn't take anything from anybody. I went to work, supported myself. And so this is an example. And so the challenge is for those of us who may be a little older, a little more mature, a little more experienced, our work ethic should be an example to the millennials. And that millennials should look at us and want to be idle, but want to be productive members of our society, contributing in every way. And so giving some information. I think one of the most needed things in our community today is financial literacy. And when when young folk hear it from a young person their age, I heard my daughter talking to my niece who trades on a daily basis, and she's a UPS long distance truck driver, and they were talking about trading. And my niece told my daughter, said, I I don't even have a bank account. I took my money and put it in a safe under my house somewhere. So she said, they were robbing me. I mean, so millennials go a little further than the rest of us, but they have their way of communicating and understanding each other. And so when they can share with each other, and my niece was able to share some things that motivated my daughter, who is 2 years younger than her. I think my niece is 36 and my daughter is 33. And so they're able to motivate and talk to each other and encourage each other in a certain way. And so, Lisa, let's talk about your success. Let's talk about what you've been able to share and how you've been able to motivate, and what's your mode of operation from day to day that has made you such a phenomenal success.
One of the things, and that's a good question, is changing my surroundings, like changing the people around me. One of pastor I used to go to church. He used to say, finance change, and so I changed a lot of friends. Also, me having a hunger to want to do better. You know, when I look at family and friends, no one's ever taught me about money, but I've always wanted to be wealthy. So it's something when you desire something, but you don't know how to obtain it. And then what I was desiring, God put me in a place where I have mentors like Miss Dyer, Mr. Rogers, and other coaches that I paid for, because there is a desire on the inside of me to want more. And you know, I look at my family and friends and I see a lot of things that they went through, you know, pensions, 401ks. Like, for instance, one of my aunt's pensions just ran out. She outlived her pension, and I know I'm not going to be eligible for a pension because of my age. So just those things really made me focus on what do I want to do with my life. I have 2 children, and I don't want them to go through the same things that I went through. We have come from a place of being homeless. We have been in situations where some people go, wow. And I just wanted more. I wanted more, I wanted better, and I wanted different. And one of the avenues that was allowing me to do this is actually joining the BYOB movement. It opened so many doors for me. You know, I was searching for something, and then I'm not going to say abracadabra, but I was searching for something and it came to me. And then the next step was me accepting it and embracing it. And once I did that, it has shifted my whole mentality. It has shifted my environment, and also it has caused a shift on the inside of my children. So that was like joining BYOB was a segue for me to walk where I am walking now. Now I'm on TV. Now I'm sharing with people like, hold on to your faith. God, you know, trust the Lord. And then I am pure evidence of that. So those are my motivation of my children. And then watching how God just did his thing, because I held on, because I could have just not believed and not cared anymore. Because a lot of us do that when we go through things. We give up because it doesn't look like how we want it. So that's my answer for that one.
Wow, that is so exciting. So many things you said that we just read in that passage. One of the things you said is, I changed my environment. You notice Paul told those young folk there, don't hang around people who are sitting around doing nothing, huh? Because doing nothing breeds doing nothing. And so that's how did you do that? I mean, it's hard to just break away from folk that have had a connection with you for a long time. How was that?
Lonely, very lonely, because I've had the group that was surrounding me. We all wanted to be entrepreneurs and make money, and you know, make money on our own terms. But it seems like everyone else was talking it, but they weren't walking it, and it builds up a frustration on the inside of you when you're trying to go somewhere and the people who you're aligned with, they say they're trying to go to the same place, but they're not. So I had to pray about it, and I had to let some friends go. And I have been, I'm not gonna say not the word idle, but I will say that I had to separate. I think that's a Bible verse. I know you probably know the Bible verse about that, but I did have to separate. And once I separated, I began spiritual and personal development that shifted where, you know, my mindset of where I want to go. Because you can't take everybody with you. You may can reach back sometimes when you get there, but everyone can't go with you on the journey. And I definitely learned that. And I learned it's okay to leave people behind, but it doesn't feel good all the time.
I'm gonna tell you just how significant what you're saying is and how strong of a woman you are. And now for you, what you're actually doing is reaching back now. You know, from your television broadcast to you hosting what we call it's not a podcast when we do it on, you know, social media, because that's ultimately what we'll be doing, what you'll be doing here within the movement from Be Your Own Bank, where we're talking about bridging the gap on Fridays. So now you've established yourself. It's like you've committed to yourself first. And that's very significant because of the reality is I was looking at something and some statistics where it says that millennials now only own 5% of the wealth. And so if millennials are only owning 5% of the wealth, where compared to baby boomers in 89, they had 21% of the wealth. So it's already like what's happening is you're fighting millennials, not you specifically, are fighting an uphill battle. And so because it's like the where they are financially is behind where baby boomers were. And if baby boomers, like you just mentioned, are running out of pension and running out of money, and I see it all the time, you know, my father went back to work, you know, my aunt went back to work. So many people go back to work, and you're saying your aunt went back to work. So if at their age, at the equivalent age when they were this age, you know, they own 21% and millennials only own 5%, what you're doing is so significantly important. You want to speak to that?
Absolutely. And going back to the statistics that you were speaking about, um, it just makes sense for us to shift. Because also, you know, one thing about us, we don't like to stay at jobs a long time. I'm just going to be honest. We like the flexibility, but for us to get that flexibility, we have to change our mentality to make sure we do the things so we can live the life that we want. You know, like you were saying, people older are going back to work. You have the people, Taco Bell, McDonald's, the Walmart greeters, the people serving the foods at Publix and things like that. I'm not speaking down, but I'm pretty sure majority of them did not want to be back in those positions. But shift in finances, the economic shift changed and it happened. And now the people who were felt secure are no longer secure. And so when I look at that, I don't want to be in that place. You know, I don't want my sons, you know, I have two boys. I don't want them like mom has to go back to work. Or I can give an example. You know, I spoke to my dad and I'm like, Dad, you know, when I hit these millions, you don't have to work no more. He's like, well, you know, I got 10 more years for my pension. I said, so if I give you $1 million, you gonna go back and work for that pension? He's like, no. And I'm like, okay, but I don't want people to focus on, I have to go and maintain a pension to get some kind of a little bit of security when it's really no security. Because also, I used to work in retirements and investments. Pensions can go bankrupt. And yes, some of them are insured, but all of them aren't. And a lot of people lose values in their pensions as well, because when they're insured by the government, they change some of their values. So that's not even secure. So it's just, you know, it's just we have to look at things different. And I think also the what Bishop was saying about financial literacy, most of them were not financially literate, especially African American, Hispanic communities, or people of color are not financially literate as they should be. And now is a chance for us to walk in that. But a lot of us don't know how or where to go because that's not mostly a conversation we have. So that's one of the things why I want to bridge that gap, because those are the conversations that we should be having.
You
So
speaking truth and speaking facts.
I have a question based on the scripture where Paul was saying that you watched us work, right? We were not lazy or idle at all. So where is it and how is it that for individuals who have a desire to be successful, at what point and this is a general statement, but I've discovered when I'm dealing with millennials, they have this entitlement mentality, and they feel like they deserve to be at the top of the heap before they paid the price. Can you speak to that? Because and I'm sure Bishop can relate to this as well. But this Paul talks about this. You know, we've said, you know, our responsibility is to pour into the next generation so they can supersede what we've been able. So why is it difficult at this time for those who have not had any success, but instantly they think they're supposed to be at the top of the heap? How do you help us bridge the gap? Because that's what we're talking about, bridging that gap.
Well, in reference to that, like you said, we watched our parents, our elders, grandpa, grandma. We've seen them do the work. So I would say in reference to the millennials, the disconnect is we don't want to work hard, like you said, but we want the benefits. And as we see right now, I would say a major impact is social media, technology. Technology has made a lot of people a lot more lazy, innovative, but lazy at the same time to a degree. So a way that I would say just more so, we really just need that education because we don't have to go do those same jobs. Because you got to think about back in those earlier times, most of especially people of color did a lot of hard labor too, right? Working, working with their hands. There wasn't as many office jobs too, right? So I think there is a big culture shift, but in that culture shift, like you said, they don't want to do the work. Not everybody, but we have to find a way, and that's what I'm doing and it's more so in is educating them and then showing them and seeing the fruits, because they want to see the fruits too, and they might not want to do the work, and that's on them, because it's just like when we give the word, right, we expose, and then that's up to them to take the word, apply it, thank you Jesus, and do all of that. So I would say it's a task, but it's a lot of mindset shifting. So it's a daily task. But no, that's a good question. I still got to work on that one. That's a great question. I don't think all of us are like that, but a great deal are. And then also we're showing that to the next generation. That's why that shift has to be fixed.
Well, I think that. Go ahead, Bishop.
Yeah, I think that the in between there is, we just got an opportunity to do some internships with a major national corporation. One of the problems is that the in between, when you first become an intern and you're getting now the knowledge base to make the money later on, but the intern money is not what we thought it was going to be when we decided that particular career path, and the unwillingness to spend those days not making the money that we think that we're worth, and get the information that will bring that money that we anticipate to us. How do we get them to understand that this getting the big Rolexes like Mr. Rogers wear, it takes time. It takes a process to get the information. You have to learn. And while you're on the learning stage, you may not necessarily be paid the cash in. And the pay really is the opportunity to the experience, the access. In the beginning is really the pay. How do we get them to?
Because I want to give some statistics with that as well. I kind of did a little research in this, because I don't want it to come across as if we think all millennials are are lazy or don't want to do or don't want to work, because there are some economic factors, and this is where I think that kind of bridging the gap is important, and why this movement and why what she's doing is so significant. Because when you look at it, say I did my research, but when you look at it, the cost of wages, right? The cost of education has gone up, and it's gone up 64%. And when you add inflation into that, it's about 54%. But yet the cost of wages with inflation has only gone up 6.5%. So you're talking about, when in the 70s, only 16% of people had a college education, and now 40% of people have a college education, but yet they're starting out behind. And so what's happening is we're trying to promote for them, like we're talking about going back to school or taking those internships, when the pay is just not there, right? It's just not available. And so I can kind of understand why, you know, if I feel my value, but your competition has college degrees, and yet we're telling them you need to go to school, you need to go to college, you need to get one of those good jobs, but the pay has only risen 6.5% when you add inflation, but yet their education is 54% with inflation. And so they're starting out in debt. And so it's like they have a barrier that we didn't have. You know, they have a block that we, economic block. And so this movement, what she's doing, what she's speaking to is very, very important. And this is where we have to be able to bridge the gap, because it's right. 50% are not investing, 50% are not thinking about their finances, are not concerned, you know, is they don't know what's available. And this is where we have to remove those financial blinders.
I like that. I like that. And I appreciate those stats and acknowledging that not all of us just don't want to work. It really is, like you said, understanding value. Now, understand what Bishop was saying about we have to also understand that it's not going to match. For instance, I have a bachelor's in human resource management. And when I worked at a company, the retirement investment company that I worked at, after I got the bachelor's, my pay did not change significantly. It's like I got this bachelor's to go in an entry human resource. I had to get the bachelor's, and I did those 4 years to go hard in those 4 years. Then I had to start back over. And I know that's some other people's stories too, but it's like I did the work to reach this certain salary base. And now I have to start at a salary base I don't want to start at, but I have the paper, and I have to put work in too. That really weighs a lot on us, because we are really starting to understand that our parents weren't getting their value too. A lot of people are like, I used to explain about people, this minimum wage changed, $15 an hour. It's what, 25 cents a minute or whatever the duration. We're starting to understand that, and that's what's really bothering us. Now, in relation to what Bishop was saying about putting the time in, putting the time in but not getting paid, that also comes with mentorship, with people educating and breaking that down to us. You can't just tell us, hey, you know, the money's not going to be there, deal with it, suck it up. It doesn't work like that. That has to be something that has to be conditioned in us to know that once we put in the work, that we're going to get these results, and don't focus on the now. That took time for me to understand that. And I only got that understanding from having mentors or people pouring into me. So imagine someone telling someone that, and they don't have anyone pouring into them other than it's not going to happen how you want it to. No, you have to have someone pour into you. Like the word said, being that example that we're imitating. Imitating is also communication and understanding and being empathetic and seeing how can we help.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we really understand is we have to be willing to spend the time to learn the skill. You know, most people, we talk to them about this particular skill, they want to know immediately how they can make six figures, and they haven't did the first trade, and so you have to spend some time learning before you hit the trade. You got to be willing to pay the price for that. That's with anything. I was watching CNN the other night, and they had this commercial on there about these military medics were out there in Afghanistan and these other places, digging bullets out of people and whatnot. And when it came to try to get a job in New York, they told them they needed to get another certification. They could not be ETs in New York, that they didn't have the right certification. Frustrating, but the system says you have to learn and get certified before you can participate. Unfortunately, that's the rule of the system out there. And so now we're just simply asking, sit and go through the academy and learn. And we're not even going to test you to see. The test going to be if you can do the work when you get on the platform. But to do that and to invest in yourself, because even if you try college, you try military, many times you still have to do something additional, certification, before you can actually participate in the economic market. And I don't know if that's been communicated to the young folk on that level that either route you go, military, college, whatever, when you finish, you're not finished.
But I'll tell you the military, just to kind of speak to that. First and foremost, that's not financial news, Bishop. So CNN is not financial news. I'm gonna just put that out there. So, but as far as you muted. No, but as far as the military,
That wasn't CNN. That was a commercial advertisement. That was a military advertisement.
But my ex-husband was a medic, and I already know what you're talking about as far as the job equivalent. So, but there's a thing there, and I actually being in payroll and doing what I did as far as military finances, you know, they're not equivalent to civilian status. So you already know what you're coming out as. So once again, you're talking about somebody who wasn't paying attention, who didn't take the time, because what he did as a medic, my sister is a nurse, like every certification that you can have as a nurse. And he did more than she did on the battlefield. But once again, there are requirements, and they offer the training and things to you before you get out. So even myself, when I dealt with military pay and I did debt collections, and I mean, I did so many things. We talked about me managing, doing things as far as a foreign exchange market. But the reality is the equivalent without me doing any additional training was nothing more than a bank teller. So there are things that you can do when you're serving that is not equivalent to what you can do in the civilian world. But once again, hidden in plain sight, because there are things that we can do, certifications, classes, and things that we can get. So what happens is they don't do it. And that's the same thing. It goes back to those statistics that I was just mentioning. 50% of the people, millennials that we're speaking of, don't have the education, right? They don't know what's out there. And so what we have to do is make sure that it's known to them. And that's why it's so important, you know, when we're talking about the platform, we're talking about what she's doing, and we're talking about that, you know, that's ultimately, you know, what we have to do. So what can we do to kind of bridge that gap, Mrs. Leesia Monay?
So let me jump in here real quick, because obviously the reason why we're doing what we're doing is because there's been a fundamental disconnect in the thought process, and a certification does not translate to wealth
At all.
right? This skill set does. And one of the things that I want you to appreciate about Ms. King is what you said. You were in the workforce, you got your degree, and you was under the false illusion that by having that degree that you were entitled to a pay increase. No, right? So everything that all of us have been taught, we've been taught how to go work for money, right? You're never going to get ahead. I don't care how many degrees you have, postgraduate. If you're not making sure that your money's working for you, then you're always going to be exchanging time for dollars. So that's the false reality, that why we have to sound this alarm to make sure that we are able to translate, transform, and empower. But also too, I still want to stay on this street, because it's important for us to realize that before any of us achieve any level of success, right? Success requires you to pay up front, right? You have to pay the price up front. You don't think in your mind that I'm gonna be this great person. You have to pay the price up front. So that means submitting to someone else's authority who's already done what you desire to do. So that's the gap that I really want us to talk about. And how do we really fill that gap? Because that's where it all, that's where the disconnect is, and unlearning some things that we've learned. And even myself, I'm still submitted to someone else's authority. I have a coach, I have a mentor, I have people that is willing to call me on the carpet and say, you know what, you're doing great, but you should be doing better. So how do we help our millennial base realize that we're not here to dictate, but to transform?
Well, I want to come from the point of, also in this shift of the cultural shift, you have to look at, and it makes a big difference. It's not an excuse, but there is a lot of leadership that is not in the homes anymore. A lot of absent parents, whether it's mom or fathers, right? And so that makes a big difference. A lot of us are affected by that. not everyone, but a lot of us are affected by that. So sometimes we don't know how to. For instance, I'll use you as an example. When you became my mentor, it was very difficult for me to receive from you because you were like a paternal figure, and I haven't really had a paternal figure not get on me, but push and come at me, but out of love to help, to help these what I have on the inside and gives me that push. And so a lot of us, we lack leadership, the household leadership. That's a big thing to me. So we don't know how, because a lot of us don't have that. Especially, I'm speaking just from my experience and being around mostly people of color. That is a big gap when you don't have leadership around you, that paternal or even maternal to an extent. That makes a difference on how we receive information. This is like you're not my dad. Why am I going to listen to him? And it wasn't rude, and I'm not being disrespectful. It's that I've never had that experience. So there are some shells there is some layers that have to be broken off of us just in that aspect. And then the education aspect, where our communities are dying, or not, I'm not gonna say dying, thriving, or needing more love, needing more education. Where are the people at in our community that's doing that? Because a lot of times, people who go in the communities, it's very few people. People don't have the time, or they go help for a minute and then go on, and it has to be something that's continuous. And for instance, my children are 15, 16, and 13. And there has been many mentorship programs that I've enrolled them for financial literacy, for male role models, for health benefits. And every time I've enrolled them in a program, every single time I have paid for them, they have been free. Someone has dropped the ball and they seem like they're forgotten about. And those are my experiences. But when I speak to other people, they agree that leadership is just, it seems like no one doesn't care for us. It's like, one thing, like, what's the word that what's the sentence? Y'all say starting from ground zero. It feels like we're just starting by ourselves. So it takes a lot for people who feel that we don't have leadership and we don't have the support that we need to come under a submission when we're not taught about things like that. But that's from my experience.
Now that's powerful. I actually experienced that with my son in a program that I put him in. His father was always present in his life, but being military, we were always separated. We were never in the same city once we got divorced. So and I put him in a program because I wanted positive men in his life. And that actually happened as well. So definitely understand that. So what we have to do is make sure that, it's the coaching, the mentorship, the, part of what we have with the males to men, the women teach Forex, and now bridging the gap that is actually going to be happening. I really believe that some of these layers are going to be broken off. And Bishop, I got a comment in the chat that says you wear Rolex too.
Wow. We talk about coaching and mentoring. A mentor pours into, a coach pulls out of what's already there. And one of the problems I'm having coaching these little football boys, I got to go talk to in a few minutes, is they're 10 years old. They think they know as much about football as I do. And they think it's glitter and glamour. We were teaching defense, and this young boy had been watching some of the well-known cornerbacks in football. He thought all the cornerback did was run out and intercept balls and come back. And so when I told him he got to contain, and he got to beat down those guards and those fullbacks who come at him to block him, he didn't want to do that. He had on all this pretty stuff, all these little pads and $200 helmets and the chin strap with the teeth on them and the mouthpiece with teeth, and it's all this pretty stuff. But he didn't understand the fundamentals of the position he was trying to play. And so we got to go back again today and wrestle with these little boys, because they don't understand that football is a 60-minute fight. And you in a fight, and that's what you're literally doing. You're doing it literally, but he hitting you, you hitting him back. And he got to learn his job. He's got to learn technique. And so, when you're coaching, as Paul said, you gotta not only watch, but you gotta listen and observe, and learn how to use the skills and the fine points of what it takes to play that position. And that's the way it is with this trading. It's not just hit the button, but you got to learn the skill
Mm.
and the little fine techniques of the skill is what will make you money or lose you money. And it's a way that a 100 pound, 120 pound cornerback can handle a 200 pound guard coming at him if he knows how to position himself and do his job, which simply is to contain until everybody else gets there to help. And so, uh, you know, as mentors, we pour information into you. As a coach, we pull out the genius that we notice in you, and we enhance the skill that you have. And so, uh, uh, it's obvious that Miss Dyer sees a lot in you. Mr. Rogers sees a lot in you, and they just want to bring that out in you so you can bless the whole team.
I think I'm gonna turn this over to her, but I think that's a perfect analogy. I just have to, because if you don't receive it, that's when they get that 8 plays and you out. And see, that's what happens. You tap into it for a minute, and then you're gone. You're gone because you weren't willing to receive it. So I just think that's a perfect analogy with life. If you're not willing to receive that coaching and mentorship. But Mrs. King, Miss Monay, Leesia Monay.
Wait a minute. I want to add to what Bishop said. Because I like looking pretty too, right?
The
I like
eight
looking.
plays.
Hey, I like dressing up, but I've always come out of an environment where, and Paul is speaking to this even in this verse of scripture, right? If a man don't work, he don't eat, right? So I personally don't believe in participation trophies, right? Because
I held back from saying it.
Because that's when we're talking about entitlement and enablement, and Bishop is right. Some of these young kids now, they the glamour, that part of glamour comes with somebody paying the price in the beginning, because when you plant the seed does not look like the fruit that it bears. That seed has to go through a whole bunch of stuff. It has to be buried. It has to be squashed. So how do we bridge the gap in that regards, realizing, and the ultimate desire is for a coach and a mentor is to see that the people that they're connected to and pouring into, they want them to blossom and be better than they could ever be. So how do we communicate that effectively so that we can bridge the gap and no one feels like we're trying to diminish who they are, but most importantly, enhance what they are?
So in reference, not for speaking, in reference to the BYOB movement, I would say that, okay, me coming back from this, my HR background, I worked with employee engagement, and what I had to do was reach out to the people, the employees, the people who are engaged with, and find out what do they need from us, what is going to keep you at, because I did engagement to keep the door from revolving, to keep people at work. That's what I did. And it worked because I reached out and I found out what you need. Can you satisfy everyone's need? No, because someone's always going to want something. So you have to be realistic, but it's really reaching out and saying, what can we do better as a whole? What do you need from us? Where do you see this area is lacking? And just like in any relationship, that is how you bridge anything, is communicating and then coming together and brainstorming or making a strategic plan to see, okay, this is the area that we need strength in. We're doing good right here, but this this needs a little more work. Coming together, finding out what's going on, what is the need, and then making a plan for the need. And then when we provide them whatever strategy, whatever we provide them, the service, whatever that they need, we see how it works, and then we build up on it. But the reality is it's not a one-day fix. It's not an immediate fix, but we have to go where the people at. And so we have 1,000 millennials, then not saying we're gonna call 1,000 millennials, but my point is it's in a sense like a focus group, because the focus is for us wanting to get people on the other side of money, understanding so they can help those who they know, like, and trust, and be that and be the generational shifter for their family. But we have to find out what they need. Why are you laughing at me, Mr. Rogers?
You spot on. I know.
You're preaching. I'm about to send you. I'm about to send you a cash app.
Yeah, like we gonna pass the collection plate. That's you spot on. I know why I'm smiling. So, but I mean, you speaking to a lot. You are really speaking to a lot. You say focus group, generational wealth shifting. You know, all of the things that you just mentioned. Basically, you are bridging the gap. And so Bishop was spot on when he said that myself, Mr. Rogers, sees so much in you, so much that you've been able to accomplish. The time that we've been working together, I've seen what has transpired with you. I see you are a connector. You have an ability to connect with individuals. They listen when you speak, and yet you bring quality to the conversation when you capture their attention. So you're able to reach individuals. And so we've been trying to make sure we can connect, you know, to make sure that we're bridging that gap. And so, I mean, think about what's actually transpiring now. On Fridays at noon, yes, Eastern Standard Time, you know, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because you want to make sure that you hear from her. You know, be your own bank. If you're listening anywhere else, be your own bank movement on YouTube, subscribe. So, and make sure you get the notifications, because you are going to want to hear from her. But can you speak to what it is that you're going to be delivering, what your intent is, what your purpose is? What is this bridging the gap that's coming on Fridays? What is that, and what are you going to be doing each and every week here?
And before you answer that, I want to know what makes you you, right? Right, because you are a millennial, but you're different. So what is it about you that makes you different? Because, you know, even with your reluctancy to have your own identity, you have been willing to adhere to wise counsel. So what makes you you? And then talk about, you know, your upcoming next thing, because we want to be able to attract people like you, right, that has their own flavor, you know, how you do it, you know what I'm saying, you get lit or whatever, you know, I'm trying, you know.
Gotta work on that, but that's cool. What makes me is, well, I've always been me, but I would say really the difference now is personal development. I was never exposed to that at a younger age. And I think right now there's a big shift in personal development and embracing who you are. At one time I stifled who I was, because people said, you know, you can't be that happy all the time, or you're too bubbly, or you're different. And they say they like different. And then when you you're different, then they're not as embracive of it. But I just don't care anymore. That's just right. I just want to, my life, I want to help people make a lot of money and please God and get paid to be me and enjoy. You know, I only have one life to live. That's it. And I'm not living my life. I'm not even living my life for my kids, because they got their own life to live. I'm going to be an example to them, but I'm not living my life for my kids. They're going to benefit from the lifestyle changes and the growth that I have. But I just want to be me and be a blessing, you know. And one of the things you always say, Mr. Roger, do good by doing good. That's what my desire is. That's my true heart. That answers the question, hopefully.
Yeah. Mic check. See, I'm working on my
No,
millennial.
we gonna leave it. We gonna leave it. We gonna leave it. We gonna leave it.
In reference to the shows on Friday, what I want to provide is value and education. One of the things that we always hear in the BYOB movement is education is good, but it's also it's important for what you're being educated upon. What are you going to hear from me that's going to change your lifestyle and mindset? And that's what I want to do. I want to say, hey, you know, I know that we're going through this and we're looking for a way to make money. We're looking for a way to make that shift. We're looking for the education here, whether it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes. This is going to be something that you need to hear to shift those internal, spiritual, mental, emotional gears that you need to shift so that you can walk in your destiny, walk on purpose in your purpose. And, you know, it's wealth nuggets, it's personal development tips, it's ways that you can find out how to change your limited thinking. We all have had a share of limited thinking, and sometimes it takes someone else to bring those things to bring those things to your attention that you're not aware of, because sometimes we do things that we're unaware of or unintentional. And so when someone takes the time to go ahead and speak upon those things and bring those things in revelation, then I think that's going to make a shift and change people's lives. Whoever watches it, I believe that they will shift. I believe that this is something that they're looking for. They just didn't know where to look because nobody was offering it in this manner, or they didn't, or nobody went in their community, or no one seemed to care. Well, now someone does care. So someone's going to put in the work to make sure that we all get this bread, but not only get the bread, get the shift, you know, and change, you know, change our mindset. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait. And I just know that God's really going to do some amazing things for those who listen. And I believe that people are going to be accelerated and mindsets are really going to shift because they're getting what they want. Because, you know, it's one thing to want to shift, but you're like, man, what she's saying is right. Okay, that does make sense. That's the type of show that I want to have.
I love it.
Wow, exactly, and that's going to be great. Now, one of the things that I don't want us to miss before we conclude this conversation, Paul said, if a man don't work, he don't eat, and that he hadn't been around standing idle like some who turn into busybodies. It's somehow when people don't have business, they try to make your business their business, you know, and sit around running their mouths, putting their mouths on you instead of handling their own business. And so this thing becomes tangible because you're touchable. It's not something that's that's for those other class people. Those are just people like this. But no, she did, and she was one of us. You know that's so important. You know, and when you remain touchable, remain present, then people can relate and people can grab hold of that train and get on that train and ride that train with you. Because it says this thing is not about one person eating, but everybody can eat at this table. The table is spread. And you know, David talked about the Lord preparing a table before in the presence of our enemy. Some folk, the idle folk, can't eat, even though the table's right in front of them, because they're too busy watching the enemy. And so, you know, I appreciate your ability to remain touchable and tangible to the young folk that are who are looking up to you. I know you may not believe that that's true, but there are those who are just looking up to you. You're an example for them.
Absolutely. I definitely believe that she is. She is definitely an example. She is definitely someone that is out in front and is, you know, and I mean, I've heard the testimonies, I've heard the stories, I've heard what people have said. And so I'm just excited to really be able to launch this forward. And I mean, Bishop was spot on. And I think, you know, when you talk about if you don't work, you don't eat. And so everybody's gonna be talking. Like I always say, we're always talking. What are you talking about? So it's either we're gonna be running our mouth or we're gonna make it happen. And so is there anything that you want to go ahead and add? I know our time is almost out. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting close. So anything you want to go ahead and add as we get ready to close out?
So I want to jump in real quick too, and before, because I'm gonna put Miss King on the spot, right? So you know she's a multi-talented person as well. So before we close this broadcast out, you're gonna have to sing a note. You're gonna sing today. Yeah. Aha, I got you. I got you. So yeah, all these talents and all these fruits, you're gonna bless us with a song today. Amen.
You are so wrong.
let me tell you, I like to go back to the chat and kind of keep y'all informed before, let me read this while you prep yourself, but it says, she is a perfect example. Leesia, I look up to you. So there are definitely people watching you. You are touching lives. You are touching lives. You are definitely a change agent, a BYOB wealthy woman. You're having impact, and I've heard it before. So when I see that in the chat, and I see that, it really speaks to the magnitude of the impact that you're having. And so let's leave those naysayers where they are. The people who said, the people that question, it's always because they don't have what you have. Anytime somebody is questioning you or judgmental or, wanting you to tape it down just a little bit, it's something that they're not satisfied within themselves. And so you just have to keep doing what you were blessed to do and keep doing what God put you on this earth for, because you are definitely having impact. And so, I'm definitely excited about what's about to transpire and your role within this movement, Be Your Own Bank movement.
Amen. Thank you so much. Can I go now?
No.
Let's find a song. I'll do a snippet. Let's see. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Take my hands, Lord, guide my feet. Touch my heart, Lord, speak to me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Okay, I'm done.
That's what I'm talking about.
She gonna have to come back. You the official BYOB. Like, you got asking for somebody to sing. You found her. You got her. You gonna have to come back.
Hey, how long have I petitioned the Lord for somebody to come and sing? So yes.
She gonna have to come back. Have to. Because you're not getting that from me. They always asking me to sing on here. So no. I can talk it out real quick, but we're not singing. So
can't hide your gifts, Miss Dyer. You can't hide your gift. You got to let the Lord use you. You just said that. Let the Lord use you.
That's not a gift. That's not a gift. It bypassed, like just like this. So that's what it did. See, look, I got All Right Girl saying, it's like beautiful voice. That's wonderful. It's just so many people. You are touching lives, and that's what I want to keep doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I definitely, I want to play this little clip that she put together. If you can see it, I definitely want to make sure that we kind of play this so you can get a snippet of what's to come. You can also catch her show on the Word Network, where it's Faith It Through. So it airs on Fridays, right? On Fridays at 10 a.m. And then, so look, you're going to get a full blast of her on Fridays. So it's on Fridays at 10 a.m. And then, of course, on Fridays at noon on our YouTube channel, you definitely catch her streaming. And so if you want to connect, connect. Millennials, hear me. Text. I need you to text BYOB movement, okay? No, I'm sorry. I'm always talking about wealth and BYOB. Text Mob Squad. It stands for Millennials Owning Banks. Millennials Owning Banks. So text Mob Squad. Let me get the number. 904-567-0634. I'm going to say it again. That is Mob Squad, M-O-B, Mob Squad, to 904-567-0634. You can also catch us go to our website, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. Definitely go to our website, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com, and you can also check us out. And make sure you do so, because tonight is powerful too. We'll be live tonight in the markets, training, teaching. This is definitely, awesome. So we got people requesting. Thank you for dropping that in the chat. People are already requesting it. So I just want to go. She is talented. I'm gonna put this together. She put this little snippet together. So I'm gonna play this as we get ready to close out. So you guys should definitely see it and look.
Hey fam, Leesia Monay here, aka the Wealth Connector. This is a call to all millennials. One thing I know about us is we are searching for ways to understand how to make a lot of money, enjoy our time, and our freedom. Time is moving really fast. In reality, we don't want to wait until our 60s to just start living or possibly being awarded Social Security. Pensions are almost obsolete. Retirement saving plans, they are okay. They got limitations. And Robinhood is not the investment platform that you need for wealth. Let's get real. Most of us truly do not understand money or even how to make it work for us. Because if we did, then most of us would be living life on our terms. Yeah, we know how to save money, but saving money doesn't make money. And that's what I'm here for, to put you on a financial educational train. I will be dropping wealth nuggets that will shift your mindset and your money. Only tune in if you don't like the amount of commas in your bank account or if you want to increase them. If you're ready to obtain wealth and invest in your best life and serious, go ahead and text Mob Squad to the number provided.
All right, awesome. Website. So you already see, let's connect. Let's make sure you connect with our Wealth Connector. Make sure you connect with Miss Leesia Monay. Definitely want you to do that. Also pick up a copy of our book, Be Your Own Bank, Hidden in Plain Sight. You can do that on our website as well, also Amazon, but you get your personalized copy on our website. You know, we love each and every last one of you all. Mrs. Leesia Monay, we have enjoyed having you. You want to say goodbye? It's a lot of love in here for you right now. You want to say goodbye to everyone?
Goodbye, everyone. I love everyone. Talk to you later.
I'm excited. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I see Bishop waving at you all too. This has just been phenomenal. You all, I definitely am excited, but accept the challenge, right? Accept the challenge. We're doing 6 months to 6 figures. Come see and find out what that's all about, but accept the challenge and learn how to be your own bank.